Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, April the 9th, about 5:24 p.m. This is meteorologist Shay Gibson with iKitesurf, bringing you a preliminary outlook for this Saturday. So I just want to say real quick, keep in mind we're still 4 days out. We've seen the forecast shift or change before. With a weaker looking forecast, we've seen it actually fill in before, even if it was with southwest sea breezes. But either way, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Just saying, don't give up on it yet. If you haven't registered, please do. Either way, it's a lot of fun to come hang out if it get in the race and then the barbecue afterwards, all the camaraderie and all the events and activities going on are really, really fun, and including the raffles and everything else. So real quick, I'll go ahead and down to the corner. This is the Force Kite and Wake. If you haven't been here to the site, here's the Forte Battery 2024 website to go to. Ride with Force is the key here. Skipper's meeting is going to be April 12th, 6:30 p.m. I'll be there to give the briefing for that, as I always do every year. And we have free food and beer sponsored by Estuary Bean. So I mean, come on, man, that's worth coming out at least for Friday night. Now Saturday is the race. Gates open at 9 o'clock a.m. So please drop your gear off on the beach side of the club and park outside. They want everybody to park outside the gates to allow for all the folks that are cooking barbecue and members and everybody to be able to get into that parking lot. It gets pretty tight. So just make sure that you get in. Final registration 10 o'clock a.m. Then the down race time is to be determined as far as which way the direction is going to go, and then also that's going to be based on the winds too. So and then the awards, of course, at 5 o'clock p.m. is what the schedule time is from Stan and the rest of the team at Force Kite and Wake. So here's the website. Here's the Facebook page where you go. I'm sure that as Stan and Amy get back from vacation or whoever's going to be running the page, they'll be updating this from time to time going forward. So just keep an eye on this page for any updates that may happen. Please, I just encourage you to come out to the Skippers meeting Friday night. Come out to the event either way. It's going to be fun. And with that said, let's go ahead and get right to the forecast. So this is what it's going to look like Thursday morning at 8 a.m. And this upper low is going to be driving what you're seeing in the forecast now, a westerly wind. This is going to be wobbling up rather quickly for a bit and then slowing down. And then while that happens, we have a large ridge here to the south over Texas. It's going to be pulling in. It's going to be conjoining with a Midwest high and building a large ridge over the Gulf states. That's what's going to be bringing us what you're seeing right now is a westerly flow or zonal flow in the forecast. So you can see here how that low wobbles up over the Great Lakes, heads off to the north-northeast. We see the high pressure down over the Gulf states starting to kind of come together by Saturday morning. Look at a pretty large ridge right here. Now, this is identified at 1,024 millibars, which means the center is expanded where we end up with more or less a west-northwest flow below this upper low. These can join together, keep a really moderate to strong gradient over tidewater, and it weakens as it goes down the coast. By the time it gets down to us, it looks rather modest, but we can't rule out a moderate flow lingering through morning. So don't be so surprised if we don't see that center sort of aggregate over the immediate Gulf states, and we end up with another isobar, ice attack that develops over the area and ends up with stronger westerly flow or west-northwest flow in the morning. So this is what makes the call so difficult at 4 days out, is we just don't know the exact location of this low. If this low is a little farther south towards the Great Lakes by Saturday morning, and this ridge is a little more backed off over Arklatex with one more isobar built in over the area, then we end up with more wind, right? We get a stronger pressure gradient in between the two, and that gives us a little bit more lasting for a little bit longer. The other scenario is that the high completely envelops the area over time. This is going to be Sunday morning, but it won't happen that progressively. But if we get the high develops a little farther to the east sooner, then that west wind bleeds off earlier, and then we end up with a modest to possibly somewhat moderate southwesterly flow that builds in along the sea breezes. So if we look at the GFS, for instance, this one shows by Friday morning, the GFS has 30, this is 10 meters, right? So 72 hours on April the 9th. On Friday morning, we have 20 to 30 knots of westerly wind, and that's going to last for the day. So you get into Saturday morning, see that west-northwest flow bleeding out. So the GFS is really kind of weakening this, Raz. Let me see if I can run the NAM here and pull up the NAM 12. Let's see if it goes this far out. We're only getting to Saturday morning, but the NAM 12 shows early morning that the ridge is a little farther to the west over Arklatex. That is 2 in the morning Saturday, and this is projected to progress a little farther. So here again lies the issue with trying to get a forecast this far out, is we're only limited to some of the medium to low resolution models versus the high resolution models which will really start to come in Thursday and Friday, and we get a better idea what the winds are going to do. So if we look at, I'll just pick a point here at Shoots Folly. And, when you're using iKitesurf, you have this similar model here. In fact, I'll just use iKitesurf. That's our more sophisticated product that I'm using there, called Tempest One or One Coastal. So if we're using iKitesurf, I like to go in and add winds plus gust. That's my preference. We go into Shoots Folly and we start to run the graph. And I like to go with a detail graph, and then I add all the models to it, right? And when you add all the models to it, it includes a new one, which is called the TRIM. This is an AI model that was new to the company. We still are running our Woof Wharf 2 kilometer model, which is premium as well. Just to show you how many, we've got some new models that are added to our forecast suite. So there again, you see the high resolution models all falling off after a couple of days, and then we're left with some of the medium resolution and low resolution models that go into Saturday. So what the suggestion here is that we're going to be transitioning from a west-northwest flow in the morning, maybe even northwest, depending on the land breeze association, with some weakening speeds in 9 to 10 o'clock. But some of these are holding right around 8 to 12 knots and even building in the afternoon from a southwest. And usually when we see west-southwest and high pressure near or over the Carolinas, even to the south over Georgia, that usually ends up being converted to a southwest flow across the area. And that's due to heat fluxing in the sea breeze. So very well between 1 and 3 p.m., we could see southwest flow actually increasing or going over these values up to 11 to 15 knots, especially with some of the heating that's going to be coming back across the area. It looks like that's typically what happens. So just understanding Charleston and the harbor, that west-northwest flow coming out of the Ashley River looks rather aggressive just early in the morning, in the 12 to 16 knot ranges, and then fading out. And then we have that lull where the winds go west. We have some of that land breezing coming across land, and then we start to see the bend. And by 12, 1 o'clock is probably when we'll see that southwest flow start to pick up. So that's one of the possible scenarios for this Saturday, is that we get that west-northwest over to southwest swing and actually pick up by midday to early afternoon, and we get 11 to 15, maybe 12 to 16 knots. So we'll wait and see what happens there with the forecast. But that's generally the idea of what I'm kind of seeing right now. The other lesser scenario that we're going to see is that west-northwest flow holding a bit longer, where we have that 11 to 15 knot flow all the way through 2 or 3 o'clock before falling below 8 knots. And in which case, if it does fall below 8, typically what happens is we do get that southwest sea breeze building into the coastline. So either way, that west wind, as long as it's going to be continuing to weaken, eventually it will convert to a southwest flow. It's just a matter of when. That does make for a few forecast challenges to southwest flows we've seen before, where the pickups, where the starting and pickup, at the fort, it's okay. As you get across the harbor, things get a little wonky. But again, I encourage you to go to the skipper's meeting this Friday night so we can talk more about it. So I'm going to stop right there. I don't want this to keep going too much farther. I've already gone to 8 minutes on this forecast. But either way, just be ready to come out. Have a good time. We'll see you Friday, 6:30. I'll probably do another update Thursday night on video to share out with Force Kite and Wake and Chucktown Wind Report. Until then, everybody, take care. Get your gear ready. Either way, be ready to have fun. It'll be great.